Hello, everyone. I'm Al Deldegan from Capturing Legacies, and I want to talk to you about storytelling. I want you to think back, perhaps when you were younger, and someone told you a story that you'll never forget. Perhaps it was a grandparent, or an aunt, or an uncle, or maybe just a good friend. Um, Storytelling is something that anyone can do, and pretty much everyone has. Mom, it wasn't me that broke your vase. I heard this scratching at the door, and I opened the door, and this stray cat ran in, and it was running all over the house, and I was trying to chase it out, and it knocked over your vase, and then finally I got it out the front door and locked it behind it. It wasn't me. Or, gee, officer, I was just speeding up because a guy was coming over into my lane, and I just wanted to avoid a collision. Didn't you see all that? From a mental health perspective, storytelling can be extremely therapeutic. When people have negative experiences, they often bottle up a lot of feelings and emotions deep inside. And the more that happens throughout your life, the more both physical and mental health issues you can have. In many cases, being able to tell those stories helps release those bottled up feelings. And it helps to begin the healing process. In October of 2019, my mother passed away from pancreatic cancer. Now, it was a difficult time for me. Also, as the executor of her will, there was a lot of work that was, I had to do, and it kept bringing things back up. But while I was cleaning out her condo, I came across all these photographs and some documents from her life. And I started to think, she made it to 80 years old. And some would say that's a pretty decent life. And I look back at the things that she's done in her life, and, it put things in a new perspective for me. As owner of Capturing Legacies, we do people's life stories. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do my mom's life story. I've gathered up all these photographs and all this stuff, and I'm going to tell her story the best that I can. And it's really helped me take a more positive, healthy look at my mom passing. Obviously, at the time, it was very, very difficult. But as time goes on, with a focus on being able to tell her story, I feel so much more okay with the whole situation, I guess is the best way to put it. When you go through tough times, it's very difficult to see the silver lining at the time. But in reality, everything happens in a specific way that leads to something else. Call it the butterfly effect, call it things happen the way they're supposed to. You can pick whatever philosophy or way of looking at it that you want to. But when you go back and look at things that have happened in your life that at the time were extremely negative, perhaps you lost your job, perhaps you had some sort of a situation that was very, very difficult for you. Typically, in almost every case, that situation triggered a series of events that, as time went on, those events led to something that was likely much more positive. I think back to a time when I was laid off from a job that I really, really liked. And as it turns out, that being laid off actually led me to get to where I am today. And had I not been laid off, I would have had a very, very different life. So sometimes it's best to understand that things always play out, and what you can control, and what you can't control, you need to accept. And there is a story waiting to be told. Some people have had difficult experiences that other people are experiencing at this, now. And by telling those stories, it can be a really big deal to somebody who's going through it, because they can look back and go, well, I'm going through that right now, and look how that turned out for them. Maybe I'm going to make it through. So now I have a storytelling exercise for you, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Step 1, find a photo from when you were younger. It can be any photo. Look through what you have and grab something that jumps out at you right away. Step 2, I want you to use paper or a computer. Write down everything that you can remember about that photograph. We're not looking for perfect prose here, just raw detail. You can do it in point form or just write whatever comes to mind. Don't worry about formatting or proper grammar or anything, just write. Step 3, when you look back at the photograph and you read through the notes you made, what are the feelings you are experiencing? A story should trigger emotions. Note down how you are feeling. Step 4. Now this is the fun part. There are no rules here. Think about the story that you are telling from the photo and your notes. Maybe you want to embellish the details a bit. Perhaps you think the actual details of what happened that day should have happened differently. Go with that. Make an outline of how your story will progress. Who or what is the subject of your story? How does it end? Step 5. Write your story, the new story. You can reorganize your notes and thoughts and fine-tune it as you go. Try to describe everything in detail so the reader can see in their mind exactly what it was like at that time. Colors, textures, feelings, don't leave anything out. Step 6. Edit your story. Read your story aloud and pay attention to how it rolls off your tongue. If you are stumbling, think about using some different wording to make it easier to read. There are no extra points for using big words or making things complicated. Just keep it simple. Step 7. Share your story. You can share it with your loved ones and maybe with your friends. Are you brave enough to share it with all of us? We would love to hear your story. Capturing Legacies is going to put together a collection of these stories, and we hope you're willing to share your photo and your story. So that's it. Simple, fun, entertaining for everyone. And you know what? What's really, really cool is this could be the start of your entire life story. Perhaps you want to just do this over and over. Grab another photo. Do this again. Maybe later on, grab another photo and do it again. Maybe grab a series of photos from a specific event that you had in your family or personally. And then write a story around that situation with the photos supporting the story. Before you know it, you're going to have a life story that you can assemble together into perhaps a book that you can pass on to future generations so that they know who you are and what you did in your life. I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. And I hope you get out there and do some storytelling.